Imagine being utterly lost, not just in a wilderness, but swallowed whole by a white, indifferent void where every direction promises only a slow, agonizing death. One moment, you are a symbol of a mighty empire's boundless ambition; the next, you are a ghost, your ship a silent scream frozen into the very air, your fate a chilling whisper on the Arctic winds. This is the enduring horror of the Franklin expedition. In the summer of star 1845 star, the world watched as Sir John Franklin, a veteran Arctic explorer despite his advanced age, set sail from England. His mission, to conquer the elusive Northwest Passage, a fabled sea route through the Canadian Arctic that promised to link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. With him were 128 hand-picked men, spread across two of the Royal Navy's most formidable vessels, HMS Erebus and HMS Terror. These weren't just any ships, they were state-of-the-art, reinforced with iron, equipped with steam engines, and stocked with an unprecedented 5 years' worth of provisions. It was an undertaking of immense confidence, a testament to Victorian-era scientific and naval prowess. They were expected to return in a few years, heroes triumphant. Instead, they vanished. The last confirmed sighting of the expedition came in July 1845, when a whaling ship spotted the Erebus and Terror navigating through Baffin Bay, their sails billowing, their flags flying high. The whalers exchanged greetings, perhaps a quick message or two, and then watched as the two mighty ships sailed west, into the glittering expanse of the Arctic, towards the unknown. And then, silence. For 2 years, an unnerving quiet hung over the British Admiralty. This was not entirely unexpected. Arctic journeys were long, communications impossible. But as 1847 bled into 1848, and no word, no sign, no vessel returned, the quiet began to curdle into dread. The initial unease soon escalated into a national obsession. Lady Jane Franklin, Sir John's formidable wife, refused to accept her husband's fate without a fight. She tirelessly lobbied the Admiralty, offering rewards and financing search efforts herself. The Empire, initially hesitant, soon launched one of the largest and most expensive search operations in history. For over a decade, ship after ship, manned by seasoned explorers like Dr. John Rae and Leopold McClintock, combed the treacherous ice, driven by hope, duty, and the chilling prospect of what they might find. The first tangible clues arrived in 1850. On Beechy Island, searchers found 3 graves, neatly dug, with headstones belonging to 3 members of the Erebus and Terror crews. The men had died relatively early in the expedition, likely in 1846. Their bodies, later exhumed, were astonishingly preserved by the permafrost, revealing faces frozen in eerie detail, but offering no hint of the larger disaster that would consume the remaining 126 souls. It was an unsettling discovery, a prelude to a horror yet unimaginable. The graves merely suggested early attrition, not total annihilation. The true terror was still locked away by the ice. The search continued, pushing further and further into the labyrinthine channels and islands of the Canadian Arctic. The narrative began to shift from one of heroic exploration to a desperate, macabre treasure hunt. In 1854, Dr. John Rae, while surveying the Boothia Peninsula, met with Inuit hunters who recounted a terrifying tale. They spoke of seeing a party of starving white men dragging a boat south, across the ice, 2 years earlier. The Inuit also possessed relics of the expedition, silver spoons, buttons, and other personal items. Crucially, they described finding the bodies of many more white men further west, with evidence suggesting a desperate, final act. The grim findings accelerated in the following years. McClintock's expedition in 1859 finally uncovered the most damning evidence on King William Island. A cairn contained a note, sealed in a metal cylinder, left by Captain Francis Crozier, Franklin's second-in-command, and Captain James Fitzjames of the Erebus. The first part, dated May 1847, was optimistic, stating all was well. But a chilling addendum, written in April star 1848 star, painted a horrifying picture. The ships had been beset in the ice since September 1846. Sir John Franklin had died on June 11, star 1847 star. And most terrifyingly, 24 officers and men had perished, and the remaining 105 survivors were abandoning the ships, attempting a desperate overland march south, hoping to reach the Great Fish River and civilization. They were facing impossible odds, already weakened, staggering across a barren, unforgiving landscape. The land itself became a tomb. McClintock's team discovered skeletal remains, scattered haphazardly, along the anticipated route of the march. Among them, they found a small, abandoned boat loaded with bizarre, useless items like silk handkerchiefs and slippers, alongside more skeletons. It painted a picture of men driven to madness and despair, their minds clouded by starvation and desperation. The evidence hinted at more than just exposure and hunger. Decades later, forensic science began to peel back the layers of this frozen tragedy. In 1984, researchers led by Owen Beatty exhumed the Beachy Island graves. What they found was both shocking and revealing. The bodies, incredibly preserved in the permafrost, showed exceptionally high levels of lead in their bones and hair. The prevailing theory emerged: the expedition's provisions, sealed in tin cans, were likely poorly soldered, leaching lead into the food and drink. Lead poisoning could have caused a myriad of debilitating symptoms, from severe abdominal pain and weakness to cognitive impairment, paranoia, and madness. Imagine commanding a crew, or being a crewman yourself, slowly losing your mind, your judgment impaired, your body failing, all while trapped in an icy hell. Further discoveries in the 1990s and 2000s continued to deepen the mystery while confirming the horror. In Star 1992 Star, a previously unrecorded site of Sir John Franklin's last expedition was discovered on King William Island in the central Canadian Arctic. Artifacts recovered from the site included mundane yet poignant items like iron and copper nails, parts of tools, and other fragmented relics, testaments to the desperate attempts to scavenge and survive. Each find, no matter how small, adds another brushstroke to the painting of their demise. The most unsettling evidence, however, came from the scattered bones themselves. Cut marks on human bones, discovered by forensic anthropologists, strongly suggested a gruesome truth: cannibalism. In their final, desperate throes, abandoned by hope, warmth, and food, some of the survivors likely resorted to eating the flesh of their fallen comrades. This remains one of the most chilling aspects of the Franklin disaster, a descent into primal horror that underscores the extreme suffering endured. Was it an act of desperation or a descent into madness fueled by lead poisoning and starvation? We can only speculate, but the silence of the bones screams a terrible answer. For over 170 years, the Erebus and Terror remained elusive, their resting places a source of endless speculation. Many believed they were crushed by ice or had sunk in deep, inaccessible waters. Then, in 2014, a Canadian search team located HMS Erebus off the coast of King William Island. 2 years later, in 2016, the nearly perfectly preserved HMS Terror was found in Terror Bay, further north. The ships were astonishingly intact, sitting upright on the seabed, their masts still standing, their interiors remarkably preserved by the frigid waters. They were ghost ships, perfectly frozen in time, silent witnesses to a final, desperate struggle. The discovery of the ships brought a strange, haunting form of closure, yet it also opened new questions. What happened in those final moments on board? Why did they sink where they did, miles from where the men had begun their overland march? What secrets still lie within their hulls, waiting to be revealed by marine archaeologists? The Arctic, in its cruel, indifferent way, held its secrets for centuries, only to reluctantly give them up, piece by agonizing piece. The Franklin expedition remains one of history's most profound maritime disasters, a chilling reminder of human ambition clashing with the unforgiving power of nature. It's a story of courage and hubris, of scientific advancement meeting elemental forces, and of men pushed beyond the boundaries of endurance. Despite the wealth of artifacts, the theories of lead poisoning and cannibalism, and the incredible discovery of the ships themselves, the full human tragedy, the individual suffering, the last thoughts, the exact sequence of events remains shrouded in the frozen wastes. The Arctic keeps its secrets close, reminding us that even the grandest ventures can be swallowed by the silent, indifferent wilderness. What other chilling tales lie buried beneath the ice, waiting for the thaw?